I've done that a dozen times, but I didn't wanna suggest to anyone that I'm contending that a trial includes a preliminary injunction. But they can be very intense, and they can be expert driven and all of that. So it's a collection of that experience, supervising others who do this work, some of the work on my own, and I think a high degree of complex litigation experience that would help me both tackle the challenges of the Superior Court and also just know how to tackle them. Know when I need to hear more from the parties, know when I need to do some more research and that type of thing.
Do you think you'd be comfortable sentencing someone right now? In a criminal case?
Where I confirm, yes, I do. And I say that because that's also something I've been exposed to in the office over the last few years.
I can tell you what I find happens when I'm in front of judges who have not done a lot of criminal work, and I've said this to you. They have a tendency to take the safe route all along the way in criminal cases, up to and including sentencing. And the safe route is to go along with what the prosecutor wants, whether it's on sentencing or motion to suppress, things like that. That's the safe route that they take because of the lack of experience. When you're sitting in that courtroom, are you going to be taking the safe route?
I'm going to be taking hopefully the right route, but if it's not the right route, it will be the fair route. I can't guarantee the show is right. I'm going to take the fair route. And I have to say that the reason I say that with some confidence is that in the Attorney General's office, when we face the questions of should we bring these charges against how many people, how broad are charges, what should the sentencing recommendation be, we don't refer to the sentencing guidelines. We don't just seek the highest penalty that we can and see what happens. We try to make those judgments about all the things the judge should be doing, even though a prosecutor could come in and say, well, I'm going to go high because I know the judge didn't bring it down. We try to do that analysis on our own. And so I've had experience doing that, and I know it's important to do it in every case.
What's your position with respect to, well, you basically spent a lot of time being a manager, like being manager of litigation over the last few years. You've basically been a manager, is that fair to say?
Over the last few years, the first 12 years, I was in the courtroom. The last 5 years, I've been in the courtroom, and I spent most of my time supervising.
Managers scare me in the courtroom, and I'll tell you why. They try to manage schedules, they try to manage lawyers, they try to manage time stamps. How flexible are you going to be with respect to lawyers, with respect to continuances, with respect to the implementation of time stamps?
The answer is very flexible, but don't just believe that because I say it. That's the way I approach my work right now. I have fellow managers who believe the only way to keep things moving is to set deadlines. My approach has always been the way to keep things moving is to motivate the attorneys to explain why this is important. Take the time you need to get back to me. So the analog in the courtroom, I think, is that I presume if I were a Superior Court judge, I'd always have plenty to do. And
I don't know about that. I've been in there. The place seems empty a lot. Go ahead.
okay, I'll stick with that presumption. I will always have plenty to do. I want to have the next task from the parties only once it's fully done. It doesn't seem to be worth the court's time to spend too much on deadlines. I expect the parties have to work that out. I think the system should reflect that first and foremost, scheduling issues shouldn't be before the court. The parties got to work that out. That's my mindset. I think that some standards are important, so there's a presumptive end point to a case, but that's very different than saying every single appearance and deadline in the interim has to be set in stone. I just don't think that's critical.
Very good. I received a call from Mark Newman as well. I received a call from General Coakley as well, who I've known a very, very long time. Both of them a very long time. I've had great things to say about you. I hear over and over and over everywhere I go, I hear the same thing, Judge Stark said something the other day, and it's over and over, it's super, super bright. That's what I'm hearing. Incredibly intelligent, you can handle the job. And I think you've shown it, you're very, very bright, in terms of the answers to the questions, to all the councils. You certainly have a great demeanor, no question about that, in terms of what I've been looking for. You kept you cool, tough questions, rough spots last week. See the.
I didn't notice it.
Everybody else did, don't worry. Rough spots last week, had to pull it together this week, which is great. So I'll be looking forward to next week's one.
Thank you. Councilor Baino.
Thank you. Afternoon.
Good afternoon, Councilman.
I think those rough spots were caused by those folks from Westfield that company. See, they're not here this week,
So
so.
it turned out to be no help at all.
So you work for Harshbarger, Riley, Copley, Healy.
Correct.
Who's the best one?
I've been waiting for that question.
I know
for a
you
long
have.
time. I've had great bosses, they all, took their job incredibly seriously, but in all seriousness, the thing that I felt about all of them is how they motivated people in the office to be part of the mission. And I felt that as much as an AAG, as when I was a deputy attorney general trying to motivate other people.
You said something last week that caught my attention relative to the search for a United States District Judge, and Senator Warren wanted somebody different. She kind of sent out, I didn't remember that, she sent out a message that she didn't want the traditional type of judge in that situation. And that caught my attention because you made an application, and I thought that was encouraging that people were looking for different types of people to go on the bench. So, given your background and the extensive questioning that Councilor Duff had for you with those specific cases, can you kind of capture the element and essence of your application here today relative to, there's some people that think, and this is what we get, we see a lot of defense attorneys that end up on the bench. You see a lot of assistant district attorneys that end up on the bench. And oftentimes they're 58, 59 years old, and they've had that experience in the courtroom. And that's why I think a lot of times we end up with that type of judge on the bench. Historically white, very few women, very few judges of color, women of color, that make it to the bench. So I was encouraged by your background, and then that question popped up. So could you capture that whole element of your background, how it's different from the traditional person that we see sitting there, and why that would make you a good judge?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think that I hope that there's all sorts of backgrounds that would suit someone for the Superior Court, including defense attorneys, prosecutors. And what if I characterize my practice as a public interest litigant. So some might call it a prosecutor, but it's civil prosecution. I actually call it, I think of it as a plaintiff's attorney for large groups of people, namely the public. And I think that's a little different. And then within that, my specialties are consumer protection and False Claims Act. I often, during this hearing, wish I also have more criminal expertise, but I think those are worthwhile specialties to bring to the Superior Court, because there is lots of Chapter 93A litigation. And there's a good deal of civil enforcement in other areas like the False Claims Act. So I hope it's a little bit different. But all of it is trying to use the tools that the legislature gives you to do justice and to serve the public interest. That usually takes the form of money to consumers or money to the FISC, recovery to the government. And that's one of the things I've enjoyed so much about my experience is you get to fight hard, and hopefully when you bring money back, it's to the company.
Would you describe your application and your background as this position is non-traditional?
Well, I would, but I be some consumer protection specialists somewhere on the bench in Massachusetts, but I don't think there's many. And it's a fantastic area. The statute prohibits unfair and deceptive trade conduct. What that means can turn on any particular case. The facts and circumstances of every case. And what I've had the opportunity to do is to sort of reinvent myself over and over again by looking into a new industry. Some very sophisticated forms of fraud. Fraud can be as simple as non-disclosure of material information to your client. Some of them are much more straightforward. You steal someone's house by telling them you're doing something that you're not. So it's a great area of practice in trade practice.
Cases that you discussed with the council about predatory lending and subprime, those are, to me, as a former mayor, the impact that those types of predatory lending practices have on generally low-income families. How is that experience going to make you a better judge, a good judge, unique judge?
Yeah, when I was a brand new AG, Scott Harshbarger always used to say, we're out there for the people who without us would have no. In the attorney sense, that's absolutely the case. These people couldn't hire attorneys. These consumers who typically are defrauded couldn't hire attorneys on their own. There's rarely class action treatment of these types of issues, either because it's too complex or there's not enough money involved. And you get to represent large groups of people in the public interest. That's really fun.
In terms of the direct impact on those individuals, how does that transfer to the direct impact on the defendant or on the community?
Yeah, I think it's just always keeping in mind that whether you're a lawyer for the Commonwealth or whether you're a judge, that the decisions you make aren't on paper and aren't abstract, but that that decision, whether it's a criminal case or a civil case, there's somebody's life, somebody's wallet, somebody's well-being.
And my colleague, the council case, is going to go into depth with you about the enforcement order, but so I'm going to let her do that. But I just want to ask you a question about, because I was actually one of the co-sponsors of that 1988 legislation. Senator Jakes filed it, and Mayor Menino testified. I testified. And I have to tell you, I'm a little troubled by the fact that there has been no enforcement. I'm not a gun guy, never have been. Had real problems with these assault weapons, but I guess we'd be lucky in Massachusetts. Fortunately, we didn't have the tragedy of Sandy Hook or Orlando, or because then that would have come out, I guess, that there has been no direct enforcement of that legislation from 1998 to 2004, and maybe had there been some type of element in Massachusetts, like a John Salvi shooting, might have been some focus and concentration on the law. I have to tell you, I'm a little disappointed that there has been no enforcement. And ask you to generally respond. And that we were there, Harshbarger, we were there through all the years. It just seems to me that that law shouldn't have been enforced. Maybe we would have this controversy that we have today.
Yeah, well, my direct response is that I never participated in discussions. Should we or shouldn't we? Just the topic never came up. As to why that's the case, I think you're correct that this is no surprise. I don't think to anyone that elected officials respond to the issues of the day. In the earlier question, it's true that there's been mass shootings for the last 5 years, but it's a relatively recent increasing phenomenon. And I can't say why it wasn't higher on the radar of those attorneys general. Several of them were active in the gun control world, but they were doing other things in that space. And the assault weapons issue did not arise as far as I know. So I can't guess as to why not.
was there any discussion, any pushback about this whole enforcement order within your office, if you can speak about it? About not doing it because it would be perceived to be unfair to those who purchased those banned guns all those years prior. There was no enforcement. Is there any pushback saying maybe we should get involved in this?
Well, I won't say pushback, I'll say there was a deep discussion on how to, whether and how to implement this enforcement decision. So absolutely, there was discussion about the grandfathering issue we were talking about before. But all of those discussions pointed towards the approach we took, which was not to go back in time with respect to this issue. Do it enforcement. I understand that people may still disagree with the policy reflected in the enforcement notice, but there were other ways to do this. We took the one that we thought was the more fair and correct.
I think if you would, instead of using the term grandfather, if you would use the term amnesty for those who made purchases from 1990 to the current day, that might have that better political appeal, and fairness appeal, and for the public to understand what was happening.
Yeah, and I should be clear, I've used the term grandfather, and I really have no idea whether the Attorney General uses that term. I also don't know if she's used the term amnesty.
Do you think this is a fair land question for you? Relative to being a judge?
The assault weapons ban?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Why?
I think I should be evaluated on any and all of the work that I've done at the Attorney General's office. I just hope that it will include not just the last 6 months, but the last 17 years. But this is an important part of what I've done.
Why? I mean, one could say that that the Attorney General Keeling should be sitting in that chair answering these questions now. You clearly followed directive for initiative, and the hits that you've taken in the media, some could say are unfair. It's not your fault for carrying out her directives or interpretation of the law. So you really think this is a fair questioning of your nomination based on this issue?
Well,
I mean, it'd be easy for someone to say, politically say, I'm voting against him because of what he did for Healy, his interpretation of the law for Healy.
sure. So I think the last part of your question, I think, is my answer. I don't know that it would be fair to hold me accountable as to whether I'm an appropriate candidate for the judiciary based on the policy decisions that ultimately are Attorney General's decisions. But I do think it's fair to inquire about anything that I've done in the Attorney General's office or in any other aspect of practice.
I asked your witnesses, Judge, are you going to be ready at the side? And she said yes. So I'm going to ask you to explain to the members of the council relative to your preparedness on the criminal side, since we discussed this at length. You conceded that you likely had more criminal experience. So why don't you just kind of summarize it? That's about your preparedness to be on the bench.
I appreciate the question because I concede that I have not prosecuted or defended a criminal trial. For the last 5 years, I've gathered a lot of criminal experience. For 5 years, I've overseen 2 divisions of criminal jurisdiction, the fraud division and the fair labor division. For the last 2.5 years, as first assistant, I've overseen all the work in the office. But I'll explain what that means to oversee criminal work in the office. If someone brings a charging decision, typically an indictment, occasionally district court charges, they go through me or the Attorney General who signs off on all cases. If someone seeks to enter plea negotiations, they go through me to get to the Attorney General to determine whether the proposed settlement will serve our purposes of litigation, what we set out to do. And on the sentencing side, before we make a recommendation, the criminal AG comes to me, then the Attorney General, for making a recommendation to the court. So I read every think it's meaningful, even if it is not a criminal trial. And if I could just add one, that doesn't mean that I don't see an immense challenge to be a judge and to handle the criminal section for the first time. Absolutely, it's a challenge. But I'll tackle it where I've challenged new things in my other jobs. I've had to learn new areas of the law over and over, sometimes very quickly, sometimes more casually, and then figure out how to make the decisions by listening to others, learning, and exercising good judgment. That's what I try to do every day.
The Apple phone situation, that's what you asked you about.
I'm sorry, the what?
The Apple phone situation, the FBI and access to private industry to prevent crime, solve crime. As a government attorney, how far does the government get to go in, say, preventing terrorism in a situation like this? The phone, the FBI and access to files, that was something different, where it's already suspect. How far does the government get to go in your constitutional opinion relative to preventing terrorism? They've gone to an extent to prevent driving under the influence by setting up roadblocks. And now they want, it seems like they want to reach into our private lives. How far, thinking as a government guy, how far do we get to go, government get to go
So
in this regard?
I can only speak for the state government.
No.
The federal government's approach. We can only go anywhere with a warrant. And so when you seek a search warrant, whether it's for a smartphone or something else, you have to establish probable cause that a crime is being committed by the subject of that warrant. And then that what you want to collect is closely related to the criminal allegation. So, I mean, there is a serious limit. And that is you can't just collect. There was a discussion about naked collection of information from everyone's smartphone. In state government, at least, you can only go with a warrant.
I understand that, maybe I should have prefaced by saying, let me take you back to the William and Mary Law School, where your discussion of constitutional law, in this question comes up with what would you have said back in 1992, taking this course, having this discussion with your liberal professor of law, constitutional law, relative to the government intervention into our lives.
I think government needs a good reason to get into people's private lives. And that turns on having a real basis to believe that the person that you want to learn about is involved in criminal activity, which is very different than we want to learn everything we possibly can in order to be on guard for things like terrorism or other very dangerous things.
See where I'm going with this, you know, there's different types of judge shopping, I guess. Government has taken judge shopping as well as defense attorneys do judge shopping. Everyone seems to think that it's okay. I'm trying to figure out what kind of judge you're going to be on the bench relative to these highly sensitive private issues. I think I'm answered it.
I think I'm going to be a demanding judge because I think people's privacy matters a lot, and law enforcement should be able to do only and exactly what the law provides.
Okay. Town meeting member in Arlington?
I really enjoyed town meeting. Arlington's a particularly robust town meeting, sometimes less than 10 weeks.
Where's Board of Government? Where's Board of Government?
Well, I came from Fairfax County, Virginia, where I grew up, where 7 superintendents govern 1.3 million people or something like that. So when I came to Massachusetts and learned that each town does this on their own, I think it's fantastic. They can actually participate and have money spent on what the town does. So I respectfully disagree.
Did you have to deal with Charlie Lyons when you were
before I call you, you know what I wanted to say? I neglected to say it to Counselor Kennedy, and now he's left, now I'll tell him later. I never interrupt counselors with their questioning, and I only interrupted just to advise the counselor that before he arrived, Counsel Duvigal asked you, what do you know about guidelines? And you went into very long detail about it, and that's all. I just wanted to say that. Excuse me.
Just, I'm not gonna belabor something that's been for a long time. Family has, probably has obligations, but I do want to make some inquiries in some areas. I just want to say first that I'm not a gun girl. I'm a person who believes in the Constitution of the United States and all of our enumerated rights and amendments. So, my line of questioning with respect to the declaration, and we talked a lot about that, is out of more concern for your judgment, and not necessarily the Attorney General's, because you're the nominee here today, for the respect of our democratic process and how the people who are critical of what that declaration does, that you didn't go through the legislative process. And I think people are right to be suspect about the timing of that declaration. That declaration was made over the summer during the Republican National Convention. A week later, the Attorney General was in Philly giving a press conference at the Democratic National Convention on the issue of the declaration and why she did it. So, I think people are suspect. They believe that that declaration had everything to do with politics, nothing to do with policy.
I've
No,
I've explained the motivation.
I know you have, and I took,
That is what happened. It was
Well-
June 11th, and then immediately thereafter, that task was given. And we took that time to reach the determination, to figure out how to do it.
let me ask you, let me point out, Newtown was 2012, not 2013. Okay, and there hasn't been a shooting in Massachusetts relating to any of those weapons that she added to that list. There wasn't a shooting in 2010, there wasn't in 2011, there wasn't in 2012, there wasn't in 2014, and there has not been one in 2016. So that drives the suspect factor up for many people in that this seems very politically timed, the announcement. And the interviews that she gave at the DNC at their convention, it's just reeked of politics. And when you talk about the public interest, and I know you seem like a very nice person, you very professionally have a nice delivery, demeanor, but when you talk about the public interest, it's my understanding that the letter that was sent to the AG's office on July 28th of this year, signed by 84 legislators, Republicans and Democrats alike, primarily Democrats, has never been answered. So how is it in the public interest that 84 duly elected representatives of the people of Massachusetts, their voices on Beacon Hill, that letter has never been responded to by your office?
So
How is that in the public interest?
that letter hasn't been responded to in writing by our office. But
Why?
every signatory of that letter, we have reached out to and communicated with them again. We had the meeting with the discussion with every one of them. We responded and answered those questions.
Well, why not in writing?
In person on the phone.
Why not in writing?
Because by the time that letter was written, it was a certainty that there would be litigation concerning the assault weapons. And I say it was a certainty because the law firm announced that they would be doing it. It took 6 weeks. But when the matter is certain to be litigated, it was our determination to explain the answers to those questions in person or on the phone instead of in writing.
Why can't you defend this declaration in writing? I don't care if there's litigation pending. Your office put out a declaration reinterpreting law that had been settled for 18 years. 84 legislators sent a letter saying these are our concerns, and they're very valid concerns. These are attorneys who signed off on this. John Fernandez is an attorney, criminal defense attorney, same in Courtnall. They sent this letter saying, please explain these issues. We've got concerns about interpretation, enforcement, and your office won't put it in writing, explaining. Don't you think the people of Massachusetts have a right to a written explanation as to this declaration by the Attorney General's office, they don't have a right, I mean, we talk about the public interest. Don't the people of Massachusetts have a right to a written explanation to these questions that were sent to your office by duly elected representatives and senators?
I think the people have a full explanation of what we did. The enforcement notice itself explains the background of the statute, the term copies and duplicates, and how we're going to enforce it. And then in the last 2 to 3 months, we've placed on our website a long series of question and answers that have come from gun dealers, members of the public, and other interested parties that answer the details of how this is to be implemented. So I think that the combination of those documents answer the questions about what we did. And in the litigation, we will answer in even further detail what we did.
And I noted, you gave 3 examples of why this was done, and again, I still, object to the timing and the announcement and the whole declaration itself. 2 of the 3 examples that you gave were terrorist attacks on US soil. So please tell me what the declaration is going to do to combat terrorist attacks in the United States. Because I'm pretty sure terrorists, or people who want to kill Americans because we're Americans, are not going to say, I better read the Attorney General's declaration because I shouldn't have this gun. I mean, what is that ban going to do to stop terrorism? Because 2 of those 3 attacks were terrorist attacks.
So I don't think any law, any gun regulation law can guarantee that no mass shooting will occur in Massachusetts. I think the intention of those laws is to reduce the likelihood. So there's no question that any particular law or the enforcement of the law that's on the books can't guarantee that whether it's a terrorist attack or any other type of attack, it's not going to happen. It's about reducing the likelihood of it. And I think that, I think that was one of the motivating factors for the legislature in 1998 and 2004. I was describing earlier how this task first arose in the response to Council Juvenile. I explained that it happened, that we got a task to look into this immediately after Orlando. But it was in the context of, well, why didn't this happen before? That I said, words to the effect of, I suspect it had to do with a collection of events. There's no particular one event. I just mentioned the ones that all involve military style assault.
And why not go through the legislative process? Now, you said that there were deep discussions about, when did those deep discussions start, by the way? What was the date? Was it right after Orlando?
The assault occurred between May 11th, sorry, June 11th, 2020.
Coincidentally leading up to the Democratic National Convention.
You can keep placing that motivation on it. I can only tell you what I experienced and what I heard. And it was just what I described. Immediately after the Orlando massacre, which the Attorney General raised that question, asked us to look into it. We took the time we needed. We analyzed a whole bunch of aspects of it. And eventually, that team came with a recommendation. And that's what happened. So you can continue to characterize it as you like. That's
The
not my
timing is-
experience, so I
Timing
disagree.
can't be refuted. The timing of the announcement in conjunction with those other events is irrefutable. That happened.
And the timing of the Orlando massacre also occurred when it happened, and the meeting occurred immediately thereafter. And I suppose you can refute it, but that's the way it happened.
Now, during these deep discussions, did anybody, I assume these lawyers, how many lawyers were involved in these deep discussions? If you refer to them, on how to implement this.
Many.
Did anybody, I just went to public school, did anybody suggest that, maybe we should go through the legislative process
statute from the moment it was passed in 1998. It is up to the legislature to pass the laws, and it's up to the attorney general and the rest of the executive branch to enforce and implement the laws. We were enforcing the copies or duplicates provision, and that's why you don't have to go back and talk to the legislature.
Based on a new interpretation, and I strongly disagree with you, but we should have gone back to the legislature. And even the Senate president is quoted in the State House News as saying that we should have been asked for input. Receive a letter from 84 legislators. Don't think that they would agree with your explanation and should not have gone back to the legislature. Can I ask you this, during these deep discussions, were any experts consulted from the industry itself?
We consulted firearms experts concerning copies and duplicates provision, and what would be within it, and how best to determine the substantial similarity, interchangeability definitions, and quite frankly, whether they would work. I don't know whether those experts were from the industry, which I presume the gun manufacturing industry.
And do you think that would have been a good idea to bring those folks in, bring them to the table and discuss this?
I'm quite sure the people that we spoke with, were sufficiently aware of the issues.
Did you receive any Freedom of Information Act requests, requesting any information about, were there notes taken during these deep discussions? Is there any record, any written documents or policy statements that were circulated with regard to these deep discussions?
We received a records request, at least one.
Has that been answered?
It's been responded to, the documents like you're referring to have not been produced because they're exempt from records. I should get back up. I believe some were produced, but the ones you seem to mention, have not been produced, as long as it's an exemption.
Why wouldn't they all be used in an effort to be transparent about how this happened, why it happened, why wouldn't they all be released to the public? If the intent is to get bad weapons off the street, and, we're doing this for the public good, definition that is, why would everything be turned over to us?
Well, it'll be turned over unless there's an exemption under the public records law. And one of them concerns policy development, another one concerns investigative privilege. And I think, but I would have to confirm, that those two and perhaps other exemptions were relied upon.
Just in the interest, public interest in transparency, why wouldn't those records be turned over instead of invoking some exemption so they wouldn't have to be turned over to the public? It's a pretty, extraordinary thing that she did, coming out and making an announcement like that. Received a lot of coverage, people had concerns. Why wouldn't the office just turn everything over?
I think the office has fully explained its position and its reason for its positions. And the office will follow the public records law. This comes up routinely. We turn over the information that is required. And when there's cases of litigation or privileged information, we don't. That's part of being a law office.
I'm aware of being law offices. Thank you. It doesn't look, I don't think it serves the public interest to not turn over those records. Have you ever handled a firearm yourself? Have you ever shot a weapon, ever been to a ride gun club?
No, on all three.
I'm very concerned about the lack of trial experience, and more concerned about the lack of bar experience, because Superior